So yesterday I was on Reddit and I saw a post that said something ridiculous like Japan is going to increase the fees to get permanent residence to 100,000 yen. And I was like, what a stupid post. And I went in to debate with them and found this article. And it seems like reality has gotten ahead of me because I did not see this coming at all. Let's talk about it. So recently in Japan, there's been a lot of political rhetoric about the foreigner problem, the gaikokujin mondai. And that foreigner problem is this big mess. It's this big mix of tourists and long-term residents and short-term residents and people on the technical trainee scheme and nuisance streamers and basically everything and anything. And it's all mixed together, so it's really hard to have a constructive conversation about it. Now, one thing that I think Japan should do is to get more money from tourists. We have a lot of tourists. Japan is a really attractive tourist destination. And with the weak yen, it's a really cheap one as well. So Japan should take advantage of this situation and try and get as much revenue as possible from tourists. There's two main ways I can see them doing this. They should scrap tax-free shopping. Tax-free shopping might have been useful in the past to attract people to Japan, to get them to spend money in Japan, but it's not necessary anymore. Things are so cheap here that people are going to come anyway, they're going to spend money anyway. The whole tax-free thing is kind of stupid because why shouldn't we get that tax from visitors? And the whole mechanism for figuring out who gets a tax refund and where they get it from and why we're going to do it at the airport, we can do it directly with shops, it's completely unnecessary. Let's just scrap the whole thing. The other thing the Japanese government could do is to charge visitors for visa on arrival. So currently there's lots of countries whose citizens can visit Japan for free. They basically show up and they get a temporary visa. They get 30 days or 60 days or 90 days to visit Japan and look around Japan without having to apply for a visa and without having to pay for a visa. It's called visa on arrival. Now, my contention is that Japan, like many other countries, should charge for this. Charge, like 2,000 yen, 3,000 yen, 5,000 yen, 10,000 yen. 20,000 yen, people would still pay it and Japan would get a huge source of new revenue. Now it looks like this might be coming in. So Japan is talking about doing a J-ESTA, so basically copying the American ESTA system where people have to apply for their visa on arrival in advance online and pay a fee. And this is basically Japan implementing my idea, but I can't take the credit, and also they're going to do it incredibly slowly. So what I've seen is that they're thinking of bringing in J-ESTA in 2029, so in 4 years' time. Now that doesn't make any sense. Why not do it next year and get the benefit accordingly? Now what I didn't see coming was that Japan was going to go after its foreign residents instead. So I'm going to talk about the proposals and just to be clear, these are just proposals. They haven't gone through the Diet yet, they haven't been debated, they haven't been confirmed, and they certainly haven't been implemented yet. Although in the current political climate, I think they're probably likely to go through. I can't see many people objecting to these changes, even though there are some issues with them. So what are the proposals? Quite simply, Japan has decided that the fees they charge for visa applications, for visa renewals, for visa changes, and for permanent residence are too low. And that has been something that I've really respected about Japan the whole time I've been living here. Unlike some other countries where visa fees seem to be a way to gouge people who are already in a vulnerable situation to get more and more money out of them. I'm looking at you, Australia, and you, the UK, and you, the USA, particularly egregious examples of these. But basically Japan hasn't done that. Japan has had really reasonable fees for visa processing and applications the whole time I've been here. In fact, until April 2025, the fees hadn't gone up since the 80s or something. So April this year, the fees went up slightly. The fees to change a visa or to renew a visa went from 4,000 yen to 6,000 yen. And the fee that you pay when you get permanent residence, so this isn't an application fee. Japan's still not doing that, which I think is great. I think it's absolutely terrible to charge people to apply for something and then reject them, and then they lose their application fee. That's what the UK does, I believe. That's what America does. But Japan hasn't done that so far. So how Japan works with permanent residence, you apply, and then if you're accepted, you pay the fee. And in April, the fee went from 8,000 yen, which is what I paid for my permanent residence back in 2008, to 10,000 yen. So both of those fees went up by 2,000 yen in April this year. Now clearly this wasn't enough, because the government is now saying that they would like to raise those fees to up to 40,000 yen to renew or change your visa, and more than 100,000 yen to receive permanent residence. This is basically increasing those fees more than 10 times. 10 times for the visa renewal or change fee, and more than 10 times for the PR fee if you look at what they were in March 2025. Now, is this fair? Well, I don't think that's a very useful question, because regardless of whether you think it's fair or not, the Japanese government is going to go ahead with this policy if it's able to, and if the Diet decides that that is what they would want to do. I've been having all sorts of fun debating this on social media with people, particularly with people who don't live in Japan and not affected by this, and yet somehow feel that they need to have an opinion on the subject. Some of the most frustrating comments I get are people that say things like, well, it's much more expensive in the USA, or it's much more expensive in Australia, but we don't live in the USA and we don't live in Australia, we live in Japan, we earn Japanese salaries, and we pay for things in Japan. And going from 4,000 yen to 40,000 yen, especially if you're stuck on 1-year visas for some reason, is going to hurt some people quite a lot. The fee to receive permanent residence, possibly not as important, because okay, so a permanent resident should be financially stable, they should be able to support themselves in Japan, and based on that criteria, 100,000 yen fee to get permanent residence is probably not out of reach for people who are able to apply for permanent residence. But the visa renewal fees seem high. I can imagine lots of people who are in low paid jobs are going to struggle to pay those fees. Paying 40,000 yen to renew your visa is definitely going to be a consideration. And so for the low paid workers who are really propping up Japan in the fields of agriculture and construction and manufacturing, old age care, hospitality and retail, I think this might make a difference. It doesn't seem like a very clever thing to do for Japan, particularly now that Japan is becoming less attractive for people from some countries because the wages are so low due to the weak yen. One solution might be for employers to start paying visa fees for their workers. I'm sure the employers are not going to be thrilled about that, but it might end up being necessary if you want to keep people and you're not going to be able to pay them very much. Now, two things that haven't been mentioned yet that could be in the future. I think these are potential things the government might bring up, particularly if they're looking at how the visa systems in other countries work, are fees to renew Zairyu cards for permanent residents. So currently, the way it works, if you have permanent residence, your status of residence is indefinite. There's no limit to it. It doesn't run out, and you don't need to apply to keep it. But you do need to get a new Zairyu card every 7 years. So you go into the immigration office with your old Zairyu card. I think you need a photo, and you basically just give them those things, and they give you a new card. It's not an application. There's no process to, accept or reject. It's automatic. You go in, you get a new card. And currently this is free. So you don't have to pay for this. It just takes a little bit of time. In Sendai, it takes very little time. So I've done it twice, and each time it's taken less than 10 minutes from me arriving at the immigration office to me walking out with my shiny new Zairyu card. But I can well imagine the government taking a look at the 900,000 permanent residents and going, if we charge a fee to get this new Zairyu card, then that would also be a decent source of revenue. And much like hiking visa renewal fees, there's not really a lot we can do about it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that in the future, even though it hasn't been announced and there's no proposal that I know of to do that. And the other thing they could do is to charge fees for applying. So you wouldn't just pay the fee when you get the visa, you would pay to apply. And if you were rejected, you would lose your fee. And this is how it works in lots of different countries. Again, I haven't seen a proposal for this, but it wouldn't surprise me to see this coming down the line either. Now, the government said they're going to use this money to make immigration better, so they're going to have more staff. They will hopefully have shorter processing times. Right now, if you apply for permanent residence, it can take over a year. In Tokyo, it's almost 2 years before you get a decision on that. And that's obviously not working very well. So immigration is a bit swamped at the moment, and the government's saying, okay, if we got more money, then we can use some of that money to make immigration better. They also mentioned making the lives of foreign residents better. I haven't seen anything concrete about that, how they're going to make my life better by charging these extra fees. And the last thing they've said they're going to do with the money is use it to deport people who are here illegally, which is interesting, really, getting legal residents to pay to deport illegal residents? Yeah, I guess it makes sense, maybe, if you put everything together into a gaikokujin mondai kind of thing. But what do you think? Are you going to be affected by these changes? Is paying higher visa renewal fees or change fees going to affect you financially? Is this something that the government should be thinking about? Is it a no-brainer to try and get more revenue out of foreign residents? Or has the government gone a little bit too far? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.